Welcome to Smartly Uneducated, everybody.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Evan. He didn't introduce himself. That's Ben over there. That guy right there.
I'm a man who needs no introduction.
No one knows who you are.
A wizard is never late. He arrives precisely when he means to.
Oh, Gandalf joined us today.
Yeah,
Gandalf.
it's not a very good Gandalf. I can't do Ian.
You just sounded like my grandfather.
You sound like my grandfather.
Evan, there were wizards at one point and dragons flying in the sky. Grandpa, you were born in 1920. You don't know about that shit.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But we do have a fun episode. I wouldn't say fun, but it's there.
More informative and important for the knowledge of people who don't know how corrupt our society truly is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
BlackRock.
Oh, yeah, baby. BlackRock.
A rock that's black.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if they have them black thumbs, too, where they can't grow, like, vegetables.
Oh,
You know,
they're
when you try
bad
to
at
grow a
gardening?
garden. They're really bad at gardens, so they do BlackRock.
But they don't have any green thumbs. They have black thumbs.
Yes.
Ah, I see what the reference is. That's funny because BlackRock is all about greenwashing and having ESG, if you will, environmental, social governance, to make things better in this world through no more fracking and no more oil and gas.
But hey, before we get into the subject matter, I want to make sure that we, touch with our fans.
Oh, yeah, brother.
And then also, I believe here in like 2 or 3 episodes we'll have an air. We'll have our first official female guest on.
Is that right?
Yep, I need to reach out to her again because I've been really bad about following up and sending emails. So I need to make sure to do that today. That way she knows she's not in the wind, But yeah, and the guest that we'll be having on, she is a breast cancer survivor, and she does like rock climbing, and she's been doing like fitness training stuff for a while now, or a good chunk of time. Like, she's a very interesting person.
Yeah, absolutely.
So excited about that one. It's gonna be fun.
We're getting a little DIE over here, huh?
What?
We're getting a little DIE.
I don't do that here. No.
It's DEI, not DIE. DE.
We do DUIs.
Oh, yeah, brother.
Yeah, dude.
Don't cheers to that.
Hell yeah,
Shout out
dude.
Guinness, brother.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah, dude. That was like right in the camera, but hey.
I also want to mention that everybody seemed to like our last episode with the Tartarians.
Tartar sauce.
It's tartar sauce, brother.
Tartar
We got a
sauce.
lot of really cool comments from people talking about they were the race of giants. Shout out Daniel Sullivan, 3110, for that
Yep.
comment.
There's also quite a few people. Or not quite a few. It's just like there was a handful of people who were like, I'm not believing any of your lies. I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Dude, this is just a conversation about the potential if they existed. We're not saying like concrete 120%.
Yeah, we're laying out facts that are laid out in front of us, so you can take them as you will.
Yeah, but then I looked at their page, and they post some really dumb, uneducated things. I know we're smartly uneducated, but at least we're smartly about it.
Well, brother, that's a double negative. We are
Yeah.
smartly uneducated because we are smart that we
It's-
don't know things.
Yeah, it's pretty rough because when I looked at his page, he posted, he had litany of videos that were literally a simple Google, and I'm not saying use Google because they're most reliable, but it's unanimous. Like the evidence is 100% there that everything he was most of his posts are like literally bullshit, like
Yeah.
factually inaccurate. It's like, dude, if you had any basic understanding of science, you would know not to post that because that just makes you look dumb,
Yeah.
But hey, is what it is, douche.
I'm loving all the surfs out there checking out our stuff and posting it, sharing it, reposting it. All my smartly uneducated radical fans, not radicalized, radical fans. My surfs.
Radical fans, yes.
Because you said radicalized last time, and that's bad, dude.
Dude, that's the kind we want. That's the kind we want. I know you're doing radical fans, but I want radicalized fans. I want insane. I want let's go to the 10th power. Let's go insanity, psychosis, psychotic. Let's go.
Scream it from the mountaintops. Listen to Smartly Uneducated. Force your grandma, force your mother, force your significant other to listen to it. Now that's a radicalized fan, brother. That's a radical fan too. If you're making everybody listen to our joint,
joint.
Yeah.
And you know what? You know what? And then also as well, with all the MK Ultra programming that happened to me as a child. Subscribe. That's the only reason I brought up MK Ultra, so we go subscribe. No, that's subliminal messaging.
Yeah.
We need to go back because there's a few episodes that I want to bring back that,
To redo them, yeah.
but they were never on Smartly Uneducated. They were on previous platform that no longer exists. And Gateway Project is experience.
God, we
is
really
one
need
of
to do that again. I think we've talked about it about 5 times.
Yes, Gateway Experience, and then I also want to do subliminal messaging again.
Yeah, it's important.
And then I want to do the Canadian fruit machine again. And no, it does not make fruit. It's about the government persecution of gays in the Canadas. Bunch of fags.
Yeah, whoa.
Canadas.
There you
I'm
go.
talking about Canada.
I know.
And I'm not meaning fag as in a derogatory term towards gay people. I'm meaning that government's
They're stupid.
That's a faggy government, man. Douchebags.
Yeah.
Plus a fag was another term
Cigarette.
for a cigarette.
That's right.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. They're cancer.
They're cancer, brother.
That's cancer. It's government. I don't trust them.
But
Anyways,
did you see that there's a new study that came out that cholesterol medicine, I think it's like Tarin or whatever, makes you gay? It makes you
What?
makes you have gay thoughts.
No.
If you take too much of it, you'll find yourself giving blowies in the back alley.
Dude, it's like, whoa, dude. Like, I know you make jokes about being gay, but you just tried to touch my penis. It's like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
It's
dog.
the cholesterol medicine, dude. It's my cholesterol medicine.
I felt my blood pressure spike, and then felt my heart seize because of all the cholesterol getting squeegeed through my fucking arteries and shit. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, there's the medicine. Where's a penis? I'm ready. Like, what?
Yeah.
That's pretty rough.
Yeah, I think that was.
It would be rough. Because if you're getting the gay thoughts and then you act on them, something might end up entering your butthole.
Yeah, so
It's gonna be rough. Just saying. I foresee a bad future.
If you have anything you want to say to us, please leave an email or a comment below. We'll read it out on
that
the
was a bad
episode.
time to plug that
If
in.
No,
Because
it wasn't.
now all of
It's
a sudden
perfect.
they're gonna be like, "You're a bunch of homophobic fucking pieces of shit."
I think it was perfect timing.
It was great.
So if you want us to
Yeah.
read your comment, leave it. We'll read them on the show. And if you want to leave us an email, it's smartlyandeducated@gmail.com. It is a real email. Please reach out to us. We will read it on the show. Yeah. So with that, all that being said and out of the way, you want to get into the show?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's jump in the black of rock. BlackRock.
BlackRock, dude.
BlackRock.
So
I'll let you kind of start it off because I have like really just 2 chunks to kind of go into.
So
They cover a lot of different things, but yeah, go ahead.
BlackRock is one of the world's largest asset management firms, managing trillions of dollars in assets. It's $10 trillion in assets. I think that's more money than the government has in debt.
I don't know.
It was created in 1988 by a man named Lawrence Fink, aka Larry Fink, who is still the CEO. BlackRock offers a wide range of investment products, including mutual funds, exchange-traded funds, aka ETFs, and private equity. They are also known for their influence in global financial markets due to their sheer size of assets they manage. So they can control entire
Oh, okay. So
lines of
hey,
products.
just to fact check you. So the current debt right now, U.S. national debt, is $35 trillion.
I was mistaken. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
$35 trillion. Holy shit. We're fucked.
We can thank the Biden administration for the debt.
Well, the war on terror, brother, that put us in debt.
that did put us in debt. But, giving billions of dollars to
The Ukrainians.
fucking cunts overseas, that makes so much sense. Anyways, I'm moving away from that. Let's get back to BlackRock.
One of their most well-known products is the iShares family of ETF. You can buy into that today.
iShares?
Yeah, iShares. iShares, which are popular among individuals and institutional investors alike. BlackRock.
No, dog, I'm not sharing. You're sharing. I know, I'm all right.
Yeah, if you buy into that, you immediately own the 10 largest stocks in the world. Apple, Microsoft,
Take my money.
Google.
Where do I go?
Apple. So you're then in commodities. You're then in financials institutes. You're in everything. So they are a dangerous entity in that regard alone.
Dangerous entity.
They are involved in areas like sustainable investing and has made significant investments in technology through their new firm called the Aladdin platform, which is a risk management system used by other financial institutes as well. So,
Oh, sorry.
the Aladdin
Don't you
platform.
dare close your eyes.
It's a whole new
Yes.
It's a magical place for you and me. Oh, copyright strike. This is simply our rendition, Disney. Leave us
Dude.
alone.
we should be given the budget to create a Aladdin remake.
Holy cow. If Disney wants to
Yes.
reach out to us to do Aladdin covers, hit me up, dude. Our email is smartlyuneducated@gmail.com. Walt Disney, I know you're still alive. Reach out to us.
do this. Dude. Anyway, sorry for distracting you. Keep
No,
going.
you're fine.
I intentionally didn't put the camera on me because I knew if I kept switching
Over the
back and forth-
past few years, well, I guess past 10, 15 years, they've come under a lot of scrutiny and debate due to their size in general and their influence. Not to mention Vanguard in that industry as well. So BlackRock and Vanguard should be used in the same sentence and same regard and contempt. If you are wanting to hate the the deep state is what I'm referring to. So if you want to hate the deep state, you need to be hating these investment firms like BlackRock and Vanguard and the CIA, FBI, and all those other institutes. They all go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add to my introduction to what BlackRock is?
Really, my information that I kind of dug up that I focused on mainly was Larry Fink and kind of like media ownership, and then BlackRock's lobbying and political influence. And
Absolutely.
control. As well as the other thing that I looked into, which was basically puppeteering of the government, which would also be known as like a shadow government.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Where BlackRock is at the centerpiece of that, or a huge chunk of that, and the influence they have with like global affairs and things like that. So that's where a lot of my information really is.
That's why I of course, that's why I refer to them as the deep state, because of their shadow governance. They own significant power. Their influence over corporate America is extreme. They are major shareholders in many of the world's largest corporations. Those corporations include things like Apple, Microsoft, Google. I have a list here. Hold on.
So
yeah.
where do you want to start at? Do you want to start with kind of like the Larry Fink and like the media ownership and things of that nature, or do we want to start with like the lobbying and political influence?
Let's start with Larry Fink in general. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll let you start it off then, because I know you had a lot of different things that, talking points and stuff of different areas. So
Personally, I hold a lot of contempt for BlackRock. I do not like this company by any means or any standards. I don't like Larry Fink by any means or any standards. He is a diabolical, evil man by the sense of what he controls and what his ultimate goal is. Many people don't really know what his goal is. I don't know what his goal is. He is a very secretive individual in that regard. Think an evil Bond villain. He has millions and trillions of dollars, many estates, many companies under his belt, and he is controlling what is coming out of news broadcasts and controlling what is coming out on media. BlackRock owns most of the big six media sources: Fox, CNN, MSNBC, all these major organizations. Perhaps they don't own it outright, but they are definitely a stakeholder in these companies.
Well, they also have big, the other six, some of the big six that they're involved with heavily is pretty much just giants like Disney, Comcast, AT&T. They're involved in those too.
Yeah.
So that's another. I just want to throw that in there. I know you
No,
listed
that's
those other
perfect.
media, but those are other ones that they have a lot of major shareholder stuff with.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to add in.
And whenever you hear politicians, I am going to use Donald Trump here as a reference, talking about he wants to drain the swamp or fight the oppression or the bad people, you should be thinking Larry Fink.
Yeah, and then also he has the connections with the shooter of the
Absolutely, he
who
does.
attempted to take Trump's life.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
assassination attempt individual. The
There's a
shooter.
lot of connections to Larry Fink.
There's a
Black
photo
Rock.
of him
Yep.
with Matthew, whatever his fucking name is.
Yep, going to like a shooting range.
No, he was handing him
or-
an
yeah.
AR.
Yeah, he was giving him a gun and
Yeah.
stuff. And that's a real photo that's floating around, but for some reason no one's covering it.
Yeah.
No major media. Oh,
Oh.
I wonder why.
Oh, because they own those companies. They own all
Oh.
these companies.
Oh,
and why they want to?
shit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Come on, dude.
you can trust the government and the media. Oh my god, I
that-
trust them so much.
And that's why
I
people
trust
listen
them so hard.
That's why people listen to our show. I like to think because we are an independent media source. We are not paid by Larry Fink, Fox News, CNN, government. No officials. We don't have any
I wouldn't
sponsorships.
say we're
even.
like fully media, more like entertainment, but
Yeah,
we
independent.
have media stuff in there.
I mean, we talk about history, and right now we're talking about
Stuff,
current events going on with BlackRock and whatnot. So
stuff,
it's the things, right?
things and stuff. I've seen some things, man, and some stuff.
I mean, we've talked about DARPA and how they have cease and desist us, and YouTube has given us a copyright strike.
Shit, yeah. Fully removed the episode too. Fucking assholes.
The biggest conspiracy around, I guess I shouldn't say conspiracy because that's going to get a fucking flag. The biggest
Conspiracy of a conspiracy.
cunt.
To conspire. Sorry.
Well, how can we say that word without it being said?
Listen, we're gonna C-word this shit all day.
Conspiracy. Conspiracy.
Conspiracy. Cunts-piracy. Cunts-piracy.
Conspiracy. I'm going to say
No.
conspiracy.
I like cunts-piracy.
I know you do. You like to get that booty. Arg, matey.
Yar, your booty shimmers me timbers. Yar.
So yeah, the conspiracy there is that BlackRock is the shadow government, and they are operating as our government through lobby firms and through paying out large investments. They have ties with Klaus
Well, you brought up
Schwab
the
as
shadow
well.
government made me want to start talking about
We
it.
need to, yeah.
I know, but I guess with BlackRock, we're gonna be kind of jumping through many different areas, like different layers as we just talk about it.
Well, yeah.
So it's not gonna be like one finite thing at a time. It's gonna be intermixed. So I do have stuff I want to add about the shadow government, though.
Add about it.
Since
Yeah,
you
we're still
were-
still
since you
talking
just
about it.
started talking about it. I want to say so BlackRock has a vast influence over basically just global financial markets and then by extension political decisions with approximately $9.5 trillion in assets under management. BlackRock is the largest manager in the world,
Mm-hmm.
dude. And basically that amount of capital gives the firm significant leverage over markets, corporations, and governments. Like plain and simple, they're that deeply rooted because BlackRock also handles toxic. The U.S. government entrusts BlackRock for handling toxic assets and a litany of other things, which those will come up as we.
Yeah, that's
keep going
toxic
through.
waste for those of you listening.
Yeah, well, not just toxic waste. There's other stuff in there that's labeled as toxic assets.
Like
that
what?
They're not. We'll get to it.
Okay.
That's its like own thing to just open up, because yeah. So, anyways,
So he said that Ben over here said that not Pfizer. Oh my God, BlackRock is the largest management asset firm. They own several large stake shareholdings in the biggest companies you never heard of. I tried to listen to
real
that earlier.
estate.
They are in the technology sector, finance sector, consumer goods, so things you're eating and drinking, what's going on the shelves that you decide, energy, healthcare, industrial, real estate, communication, so Facebook, AT&T.
And speaking of real estate, so BlackRock ended up did all the management basically of the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis, which should straight up highlight the influence they have because they're the ones who managed the 2008
Yeah.
financial crisis. That firm. So this is where obviously I brought up the toxic assets. So it was trusted by the U.S. government to handle toxic assets, which then effectively places it in a quasi-governmental type role, right? This was not a one-off event. BlackRock has since been deeply involved in various government financial strategies, including the pandemic and how they responded to it.
That's right.
I'm not going to say the other C word
Yeah,
because
you
it would be
shouldn't.
like, then I'll have to go through and go whack on everything, and I don't want to have to whack it.
No
So,
quacks in this one.
during the pandemic that we all experienced, BlackRock was selected to manage financial efforts, including a 454 billion fund that was leveraged into over $4 trillion in Federal Reserve credit.
That's right.
Hello, fucking people. Open your fucking eyes. Like, holy shit. Like, if you actually deep dive into BlackRock,
Like we're doing here.
yes, like if you actually deep dive into them, I guarantee you, when we're done with this episode, we didn't cover half of it.
There's no way.
There's no way. So keep that in fucking mind. Like there's a lot of shit that you guys that people don't know about because they're not looking into it, they're not reading it, and a lot of people are ostriches. So I like to shove that fucking head in that sand.
Well, they won this sort of grant, if you will, because they hold stake 6% in Johnson & Johnson, and they own 6% or more in Pfizer. So these companies were the ones putting out these quote unquote cures for this pandemic.
Mhm.
So they were funding all of these cures that were being put in around the world into third world countries, to first world countries, and not to mention they have stakes with DARPA, that 5-letter company there. So
Yeah.
the-
I've noticed every time we mention DARPA, we do get flagged.
I know, every single time.
And then also our episode, all of a sudden, like the analytic, they don't exist.
Shadow ban, baby.
Oh yeah, like anytime we do something where we hyper focus on DARPA or even bring them up too often, we literally go from getting our average viewpoint on a video is anywhere between 500 to 1,000 views. I mean, on YouTube at least, right? Because YouTube, we are a much smaller platform there. We don't have as much of a following, but still, when we do that and that word get that that 5-letter word gets said, the big D.
Tight.
Tight, dog. This tight. Basically, all of a sudden we get like 14 views, 30 views. It doesn't even go anywhere, and then all of a sudden it's like it says like, oh, your video didn't perform very well. It's like, oh, that's weird because I know the big D is a very searched thing, and the fact that our stuff is not even going around, it's definitely a shadow ban, is what that is. It's just causing that episode to get snuffed, So keep that in mind, people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have more I was adding
Man.
thing, but I was turning the time back over to you so you can continue with what you're saying.
You're perfectly fine. I was just sort of trying to find some of the whistleblowers who were whistleblowing about BlackRock and their relations with the coverage and this disregard.
Yeah. Can I add something in?
Please,
real
go
quick
right
before
ahead.
you say any names or anything like that. So I know I brought up the whole $450 billion, $54 billion fund that leveraged into the $4 trillion in Federal Reserve credit, which is fucking insane.
Yeah.
Because the Federal Reserve, as we all know, they're the global bank for the world. They are not an American entity. We've said that many times. But moreover, BlackRock's influence extends beyond direct financial management. So the firm's Aladdin platform, which oversees $21 trillion in assets, uses AI and big data to predict and manipulate market trends, thus basically just influencing global economic policies and outcomes. And then, that level of integration into both financial and government markets and operations is 100% wildly wrong. It's inappropriate.
It's
That
very
shouldn't
inappropriate.
even be allowed. Which then leads to massive, overall people who deep dive into this stuff. It leads to tons of concerns, that BlackRock holds far more power than elected officials and operating as basically a shadow government.
And they do
You know?
have government connections as well. A lot of former executives who were on BlackRock's board have taken government seating and have become senators and governors inside of the office.
Yeah.
So if that isn't,
What bothers me is that there are ties to George H.W. Bush
Yeah.
with BlackRock. That's another thing I want to throw in there because we already know what George H.W. Bush is a part of.
yes, sir.
Skull and Bones.
That's right.
You know how many people are from the Skull and Bones Society that are directly tied into like people who are already extremely affiliated to the point where it's like, oh, they're more than likely a member. They did go to Yale that are tied to BlackRock, that work at BlackRock, that are high up the totem pole.
I didn't find any data on that.
Dude, if you go and look up names, you guys can look up every single big head player in BlackRock. Look at who they converse with and who they deal with the most. And it's all people that are directly connected with Skull and Bones. Like
I do know that John Kerry and these other
like-
individuals are in constant communication with BlackRock, and a lot of the, Elizabeth Warren is in contact with them and has talked about their ties with government and how they are controlling it. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be concerned about with BlackRock. It's strictly coming from they own, what is that, $21 trillion in assets with Aladdin's platform as well. They pretty much own the stock market.
Yeah.
Which is horrifying in concept.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, it's all wildly disturbing. So anyways, let's keep moving forward.
So I kind of want to turn over to the Great Reset that they're trying to accomplish and that they have attempted to do. I don't know if you want to move on to the next topic about BlackRock, because there's three things, right? The shadow government, the Great Reset, and then you have the ESG as well, the environmental social governance part of it. Do you have any take on that?
No, I'm gonna let you go and kick it off. and
Gotcha.
then I'll
Okay,
chime
so the Great Reset is another conspiracy that emerged during the pandemic. These global elites were trying to reshape the world economy into their favor, which there are individuals who have come out saying that there is a 12-year plan in order to get this undergoing in momentum. Like Whitney Webb has talked about how they are trying to create another pandemic to institute a new form of currency. This happened during World War I, I believe, where they were running out of money in the Great Depression, and then they went to war. I think it's World War I. I might be mistaken. And then they instituted the gold standard. Now that the gold standard has become so lackluster in America and the dollar is no longer as valuable, they're trying to switch over to something else now. And that's what the Great Reset is in its entirety. They are working in congruency with WEF, the World Economic Forum. BlackRock and WEF are working together, and the WEF has no governance over any government body, much like BlackRock has no literal ties with government. They are supposed to be a separate entity entirely.
Yeah.
But because these two organizations are separate without being governed, they could do whatever they want and then pay these politicians to do what they want. It's just a very scary concept, considering Klaus Schwab, which we'll do a whole other episode on this fella and the WEF, have ties with, yet again, gigantic corporations and gigantic head-named individuals.
Yeah, and I some of the things I came across, people were talking about, like, just people online, these people who have like their own media presence and like a decent following. They all like I've seen a tune between them all that seem pretty similar across the board, and the same tune that they're all singing is basically like, oh, like we need to make it to where there's laws in place where entities like BlackRock have to be transparent about all of their data, like all this stuff, because of how much control that they have. But I think that's the silliest thing, because it's going to be no different than what happened in the early 90s with the big pharma and the vaccine stuff that was happening, where there was actual cases where people were starting to try to sue the pharmaceutical companies because there was a lot of children getting permanently messed up and damaged on a biological level
Yeah.
from certain vaccines. And you know what law ended up getting passed instead?
I don't.
You can't sue them. You can't sue them, and they don't have to give you any information. They can give you anything they choose to give you. So they could give you information. It literally is clear. It's literally in fine fucking print to anyone listening. They literally have the option, if they're gonna give it data on like what's in the vaccine, what are the true side effects from the studies they've done, all this stuff in experimentation trials. You can't sue them, and if they are gonna give you information, they can give you anything they want. They don't have to give you real data. They don't have to give you most recent or accurate information. They don't have to.
That's much like
It's their choice if they give out anything.
Mhm.
And if they do, they can give anything they want. It's specified in there. There's no difference. That's what I'm trying to. Sorry,
Do you
what
think-
I'm trying
do you
to
think
get
that-
at.
do you
They're
think-
gonna do the same thing with BlackRock.
Do you think
they
that
would
you can
with
have time to find that exact quote?
It's not an exact quote. You have to read the entire thing. Like
Gotcha,
it's
okay.
it's like it's multiple paragraphs, and when you look it up and you read it, it's plain as day.
'Cause I know
it's what they
Disney-
say in it.
I know Disney has the same thing. If you were to die at a Disney park or what have you, if you had ever signed up for Disney Plus in any time in your life for a free trial or anything, you have signed away all of your rights to ever sue Disney at any point ever for anything.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I'm dead ass serious.
Oh. Oh God, it's just like the Sentai pad. You sign that user agreement crap.
It's exactly what it is.
And then, see, that's bullcrap. There could be loopholes in that, because what if you're not the one who signed it up, but they put it under your name? There's legal loopholes.
Doesn't matter. Your name
I
is
don't
on
give
it.
a shit.
Your name is on it.
You didn't want. That's called forgery, baby.
But your name is on
oh,
it.
dude, I'd be calling Mr. Musk, and I'd be like, "Hey, help me sue Disney. You're already doing it with Gina Carino, and you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Why don't we start round 2?
You're doing a great job. You're doing a fantastic job. The best job.
Great job. The best job ever seen. Anyways, back to you.
Fuck, back to me. Okay. So yeah, we had the BlackRock anti-lawsuit propaganda come out. Not necessarily propaganda, but it is definitely a real factual concept. Their lobbying efforts, we talked about that. Their political contributions, they raised.
And you brought up the ESG.
Yeah.
Can we pry that open?
Fucking
or
right,
did
we
you want to
could.
pry something else open?
No, we can go over to ESG. Their ESG is an absolute scam.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Before we even say any facts about it, their ESG, which is environmental, social, and governance, is a false flag, greenwashing attempt to completely confuse the masses that it is an important concept.
Mm-hmm.
It has been plainly written in their documents and plainly talked about in whistleblowers and other individuals like Tariq Fancy talking about how while he was working there, they were strictly trying to confuse the masses that having a green concept of reality is what we need to do.
Yep. And then also, so I want to, can I go ahead and chime in with it?
Yeah, you're already talking.
So the ESG investing with BlackRock has become one of their major focuses. And of course, that's under the leadership of Larry Fink, because he's the one who wanted to do it.
Yeah.
He's the one who started that. It wasn't just BlackRock. It was Larry Fink's idea,
brain baby.
concept. Yes, 100% brain baby. So the ESG criteria is used by investors to evaluate companies based on their environmental sustainability, social responsibility, and governance practices. So Fink has been a vocal advocate for ESG, arguing that companies that prioritize these factors are more likely to be successful in the long term. That's what he states, right? But it's all bullshit. It's all a false flag. Everything that he is doing with it, BlackRock's doing with it, is a false flag. So in his annual letters to CEOs, Fink has emphasized the importance of ESG, particularly in addressing climate change. BlackRock has pushed companies to adopt more sustainable practices, threatening to divest from those that fail to do so. This has led to BlackRock being seen as a leader in the push for corporate responsibility sustainability. But it's all a ruse. Like I said, I'm going to keep saying that. It is a fucking ruse. It's a fog the mirror bullshit. They're tacticians. This is all chess. You guys need to be aware. This is all fucking.
Yeah.
They're playing a
Four-dimensional chess.
Yes, they're playing. Four. That's the best way to put it. Shit. Yeah, they're playing 4-dimensional chess right now, and they're doing a fucking amazing job at it, which pisses me off, a little bit. But with that being said, so despite the public stance on ESG, BlackRock and its approach is under a lot of scrutiny and controversy by a lot of people who have been deep diving them and looking into them. I'm talking about higher up people too, people who actually do have some power in our nation and in the world, which are the people who have been vocalizing, trying to say the truth about what they're doing, but obviously it's not getting publicized on the major media outlets because, oh, go fucking figure. Who owns giant chunks of the media outlets?
Also,
almost every single one. So
why would this individual who owns 7% shares in Exxon and Mobil, well, ExxonMobil is the same fucking company, I'm sorry, Exxon and Chevron, 7% stakeholder in these companies, want to move on to green energy? Wouldn't he lose money on that? So the underlying factor is
it's because it's to make everyone else lose money.
exactly he's trying to hold all money, all stakes in everything that is happening in our reality. Whenever Whitney Webb, I will harp back onto her a few times, came out and interviewed on a 2-hour interview about how she was working as a journalist with Larry Fink and BlackRock. They want to get rid of our money, go into a CDBC, central bank digital currency, CBDC, and then start financing and shareitizing and profitizing our natural resources, trees, dirt, national parks, so you can buy shares in it. This is all to go into what he wants to do through our greenwashing attempts. But it's all a backwards scam because he owns shares and stakes in almost all of the large oil and gas companies.
Yeah.
He would lose trillions of dollars if they were to go to strictly solar, strictly air,
Yeah.
wind, water, you name it, right? So
Yeah, a lot of companies here that have conformed to, BlackRock's ESG setup, right? Doing what they're, requiring people to do, or they're going to divest from them. Companies have come forward, basically saying that BlackRock is using ESG as a tool to push its own political and economic agenda to, and to effectively impose these supposed values that they carry on the global economy. But these things cost a lot of money, and they're basically, these companies, when they switch to it, lost so much profit that they're having to cut off employees, pretty much lay people off, all that stuff, while they're seeing evidence that BlackRock is not doing that. They have a department that makes it seem like that's what BlackRock's doing, but they have, due to financial connections and other mutual investors, there are companies coming forward and saying they're not actually doing that model. They're getting everyone else to do it, so they lose money, and then they get control of
their
these.
company.
And then they go and they buy that company. There have been people who have whistleblowed about it, which two of the people, after they made the statement, came back in and said, basically said that they made it up, but yet they were a high-profile person that they come. Why would they all of a sudden revert back? But then all of a sudden that company, like all of a sudden those people who said it, all of a sudden they're never seen publicly.
Sounds like
again.
they got threatened and paid
No.
out.
Oh yeah, it seems like they just got a threat
Yeah.
saying like, "Yo, you're saying things that you're not supposed to say because you actually signed a document with all this other shit. You're not allowed to tell people this stuff. And so if you know what's good for you, blah blah, like we'll ruin your life, whatever the fucking threat was.
You'll disappear.
Yeah, and those people have never once had a media presence since.
Yep.
So, and there's numerous companies.
So well, let's put it out here. BlackRock owns oil and gas. They own medical. They own media. They own technology.
Yep.
They may not own the entire economical standpoint, but they own stakes in all of these governing bodies. And then they own the media. And then they push this theory or concept of recycle, reduce, green energy, green, 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 green.
Yeah.
And then these companies fail because they're spending so much money to change their mindset and
Yeah.
then change society's perception of it, and then they buy everything else.
I want to give a an example here, and this is
Please.
a real example. So, sorry, I chose to take over right when I felt like I was about to burp.
Let it rip, dude.
Oh, excuse me.
Then you got to stop burping on camera.
I
And
know.
I'm
I'm
like,
sorry, man.
we talked
Okay,
about
so-
this.
One of the major points of contention is the inconsistency in BlackRock's actions.
Mhm.
And this is actually, there's a paper trail for all of this. There is actually a
Mandatory.
paper trail. But don't get me wrong, the paper trail gets muddled a little bit, and that's only because they go through these random shell companies on a bunch of different stuff. But this is common. This is like, you can look this shit up and it will say this narrative, right? So while the firm promotes, so one of the inconsistencies in BlackRock actions is the fact that the firm promotes ESG. Once it has a company switch over to these values, and then the company starts to financially fail, they're then going in and purchasing that company or buying the majority of that company, leaving it still in the hands of the people who are running it, right? They buy the majority share or whatever, so technically they run it, but they let them still operate, but they basically give them a blueprint of what the company's now going to do going forward, how it's going to handle everything in every department. They have a full breakdown of a organizational tree that
Wow.
they give them. And then what they do with the when they purchase them and they get this return value, because since they just purchased them, that company then skyrockets in price, right? Because it has BlackRock's name attached to it, because then it starts using that company to invest in other things, which then skyrockets the price within like 90 freaking days of the signature. And then they take the profits from that and go and invest it into fossil fuels. They invested into the fossil fuels defense industry, fossil fuels defense, and defense industries, which are not pro climate change environment
all.
type stuff. And then also, like, so basically, like, you brought up the greenwashing earlier, and they're basically doing this greenwashing bullshit where they're, instead of fog the mirror, it's greenwashing the mirror, make everyone think go green, get them to adhere to it, or they're going to get their money, lose money from their investors. And then they do it, they lose money no matter what, and then they come in and take the company.
Yep.
And then they take the profits and throw it to all of the things that are not green, climate change, this ESG bullshit. It's all a smoke and mirror, cloak and dagger bullshit that's happening, and it's super secretive. It is. I don't know what word to use at this moment. What would be the best for really hitting the nail on the head of how despicable and corrupt and vile the things that they are doing, because they do it with the housing market too. They've been doing it. They've been buying single family homes. Why would a major corporation,
Why
a
is that
major
legal?
entity, that should be illegal for a company like that to go in and buy from people like us, you, the listeners, single people who go to buy a home? You can't. That's why everything's so fucking expensive. They are literally the source of why the real estate market is so fucking high. Granted, you do some light Googling or whatever browser platform you use, and you look into this shit, it's like, on the surface, there's all these other things causing the housing market to be skyrocketed. No, you got to follow the fucking money trails. You have to see where it's coming from, and it does go right straight to BlackRock, because they're buying all of the fucking single family homes throughout the nation right now. They're buying in mass amounts, and then they're turning around. And it's the same situation where you have these companies, they get divested, they come in and they take it, like scoop it out from under them, but then they let that company still operate with the same people in charge, because that way no one ever sees that someone else took over. They keep it as if it's exactly the fucking same, but behind the curtain, it's not. And they're doing that with all these big real estate companies that all do the single family homes, the family, all the family real estate. And yeah, sorry, I'm gonna switch it back to
I
you.
can't remember if it was
About to get fucking angry.
as you should. I'm not sure if it's Larry Fink or Klaus Schwab who said, "You will own nothing and be happy about it," and that is when Larry Fink.
And we will be doing him next episode, Klaus Schwab.
Yes, we will, and that is when Larry Fink and BlackRock started buying all these single-family homes and renting them out to the public. So if you've looked on the market, all these houses are for sale, but they're hundreds of thousands of dollars above appraisal value. That's because these companies are buying up the entire block and then renting it out to immigrants and other
Oh.
individuals to come and live in them.
Yep, and we also did not. I meant to add one other little tidbit about the ESG. So basically, the whole narrative that I just laid out, talking about the greenwashing crap. One of the other things is that BlackRock has been bypassing every single democratic process,
Yeah.
pretty much across the board, due to their lobbying, all that stuff, which I think we should move into that next. But basically, they have been able to go around it, bypass having to go get things actually approved. They're getting it approved behind the curtain on paper because they're their investors. So these things are like getting thrown into random bills that are about something maybe by proxy related. But since it's by proxy related, they're able to throw these, modifications, these rules, into these different bills that give them full freedom to do whatever they want in whatever, that bill was for, right? And they add it in some random section because it's by proxy that they're able to do it, because it's, the what it's talking about is inadvertently related to this X, Y, and Z. It's wildly fucked up, and that should be illegal as shit.
Illegal, you mean?
And I know a lot of people will go to the point where they're like, "Oh, we're gonna blame capitalism for it." No, that's not capitalism's fault. You can have any product you have, any kind of a infrastructure you decide to put in place, like capitalism, free market, all that stuff. You could put in socialism, all that stuff. It will be wildly more fucked up under that, because then they would be allowed to almost across the board without having to go and pay all these different people as much money, because the way socialism works in a hierarchy setup. Subscribe, please subscribe. How that hierarchy will work is it gives those people the power to just do whatever they want without there being any kind of process, like due process of voting involved. We wouldn't have a say regardless. Right now, the reason why they're able to do it is because they're going around doing cloak and dagger shit behind, because they know that people like us potentially have a voice. And if enough people, like ants, if every ant in the colony figures out that it's kind of like the movie Ants in A Bug's Life. Yeah. Once they figure it out and they join together as a collective, they become the dangerous threat. And they don't want that, because if you're unified, you're strong. If you're not, you're weak. And we are not unified right now as a country in any way.
On purpose.
Thank you. Yeah. So that is something to
let's not forget that Larry Fink has donated to the Kamala Harris Foundation.
Yeah, go fucking figure. The one cunt that's an idiot. She has nothing. Dude, don't even get me started.
Sorry, I brought it up. Huh?
She's Indian, by the way.
We're trying to stay away from politics on this show.
She's not
right?
black. Anyways, yeah, let's move on.
But you mentioned the 2008 financial crisis. They lobbied for the Dodd-Frank Act, which is absolutely insane. They lobbied for the Volcker Rule. They lobbied for climate disclosures. They lobbied for the Paris Agreement and climate change. They lobbied for the fiduciary ruling for buying out private and public housing.
Yeah.
They lobbied for the Secure Act. They lobbied for the corporate tax reform. They lobbied for proxy voting rules, for numerous things that have completely destroyed our democracy.
Yeah, and let's get a little bit more personalized in this thing with Larry Fink when it comes to lobbying and political influence part of things. So there's a shitload of evidence of the close ties to various U.S. administrations. Larry Fink himself has been a candidate for high-level government positions. He's literally been a candidate for it. They tried to get him in, or they extended the offer, but he turns it down.
every time.
Yeah, but it's all part of the ruse. They, like, to because it paints the picture that, like, hey, we want you in here, and he's like, no, I'm not a government guy. No, it's because that's part of his plan. He wants it to seem like he's saying no.
Well, yeah, once
to
you
the
join the
government.
government, you lose power.
Well, no, he's making it seem that way, and with other officials.
Well, no,
it's
once
all
you
bullshit.
once you get into office or Senate or House or whatever you're sitting in, you are now owned by these corporations.
Oh yeah, no,
So-
without a doubt. But what I'm getting at is that his motive behind it. This is a chess play. He's having officials make him a candidate, like, publicly, and announce it that way, so that way he can turn it down. They're all in on it, and it's for public perception because it's his way of, like, it's no difference than what they're doing with the ESG. He's wanting to keep face with the
Yeah.
public eye to make everyone think that he's not a government type, all that bull crap. He doesn't want to be a part of that that whole narrative.
Mhm.
When that's not true, he does, and he already is. He just is doing it behind the curtain, where
because
he has
if-
far more power.
If he were to join a government body,
Yeah,
he
no,
would
no.
lose power.
Oh yeah. No, that's without a doubt. I'm just saying that the whole narrative of, hey, he's a potential candidate and all that crap is literally being done for just public face.
Cacophony. It's
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
smoke
yeah.
and mirrors.
The
It's-
government people who are labeling him as a candidate and him saying no is all part of a plan that they mutually are in on. It's blatantly obvious at this point. So
I found this document here. I'm not sure if it's true. Might just be a rumor, but I heard Larry Fink drinks his own pee. I also see here that he likes to have sex with goats and other animals. Again, I don't know if it's true. These are just things I've read on the internet. People lie on the internet. Who knows?
yeah.
So Larry Fink sounds like a weird fucking dude.
And
to
I
me.
also heard he'd like to watch horses fuck each other.
And drink horse semen
Yeah.
too, right?
He wanted to be on that episode of Fear Factor so fucking bad and drink that horse cum. But he did. That actually happened on an episode of Fear Factor.
Yes, it did.
Holy shit. I would say no. Like, dude, you see me in the porn
For
industry?
how much money?
How much money? Like $30,000? Bro, you better add like fucking 10 zeros to that shit.
$3 billion.
The only way I would ever find myself in a situation like that, ever willing to go through with something that disgusting, would be if my child was on his deathbed and there was only one way to save his fucking life and I needed X amount of money within 24 hours, and then some fucking horse breeder walks up and goes, yo, brother, you drink this, I'll give you that fucking $40,000 right now, cash. And
That's
can
all you
save
need is
your son.
$40,000?
No, I'm saying
this
for the
here, ladies
surgery.
and gentlemen.
No.
Ben would drink horse semen for $40,000.
If there was if it was a situation where it was like I had to have it in 24 hours or my son will die and no bank will give me a loan and the insurance won't be a part of it, then it was to be like, all right, I don't have any other option. I have to save my son's life. I'm willing to drink some horse cum to save my son's life.
I'm going
or
to
my
say
daughter's
sorry to my
life.
family. It's going to be more like $4 million.
Now Evan over here, I swear to God, man.
No, make this not Larry Fink, dude.
Dude, this one time he saw what Larry Fink's search history was, and he's like, I'm going to take a look into that shit. So he took a look into it, and he's like, damn, the way they're drinking that sperm looks pretty delicious. Maybe I should try
It
it.
looks mighty refreshing.
And unfortunately, he did it by ground order mail. It showed up, and it was not in a sealed container. It was all hard and crustified. And so he then took one for the team and said, hey, I got to try this. So he did it like he's licking a stamp to put it on an envelope.
It's like
He was
creme
just
brulee. I got to
licking.
break the top.
Yeah, to all you young people out there, if you don't know what
Sorry.
how the process of putting stamps on envelopes, since everything's digital nowadays, you gotta lick that shit. That's what Even did over
That's
here.
what she said. You got to lick that shit.
Now, Mr. Al, how many licks does it take the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop? What?
I also have it here under good authority that Larry Fink only has one toe on each foot, and it's just instead of 5 toes, it's just one big toe.
I thought you were about to go the route of he had one big toe here, or one toe here, one toe here.
No,
so his
it's just
foot,
one
when his
giant
foot's together,
toe.
he's just got 2 little toes on the side. So when he walks, you know it's him because you hear that boom, click, click, boom, click, click, as he walks. I'd be like, dude, if I heard that shit in the middle of the night in my house, I'd be like, Larry Fink, like, babe, get out of here, BlackRock's here.
I also heard he has worms in his brain.
Anyways, it started blasting.
Yeah, I don't
got
like
worms in
this
his brain.
dude at all.
Anyways, let's get back.
Again, those are all just things I've read on the internet. Rumors. I don't know if they're true. He likes to drink his own pee. He has one giant toe on both of his feet.
He likes putting his toes and hands into fresh, warm butter every morning as he gets up. He has two bowls that sit there on the ground that his butler / maids, whichever servants, they have fresh bowls of warm butter, freshly churned from a Amish farm, and he likes to get up and he likes to put his feet in it, and then when he squishes his little single digits on each side into it, he goes, "Oh yes, oh yes," and then he carries on with his day.
Yeah.
These are all rumors. Don't know if it's true. Not saying it's real. They're turning fucking frauds gay.
Yeah, but Larry Fink's a bad dude. BlackRock's a bad company. You also shouldn't forget that Vanguard is also a horrible company as well. So if you are using them as your 401k and Roth IRA investor, that's what it is. Sorry, there's only a few options you have out there for your Roth IRA and 401k.
So hey, I want to add something into all of what you're saying, and it had to do with what we were talking about with the political influence, government positions, all that stuff. So the positions that he was a candidate for was Treasury Secretary under different administrations, more of a several former BlackRock executives. They're former, right? They all of a sudden left there after he turned out. So here's the timetable here. So when he got proposed as a candidate for this position at this time frame, because it's happened numerous times, he would say no, but then all of a sudden he would have a high-ranking executive who's in BlackRock all of a sudden put in his notice, and then all of a sudden he assumes the position. That person would, now I don't know if it's he or she, it's kind of vice versa, but all of a sudden they assume that government position. Whoa, that's weird. That person wasn't even a potential candidate. They were a nobody. All of a sudden he turns it down, and now they're the ones running that position. And just to add into it, I was just saying the BlackRock hold key positions. Now where they hold them is Biden administration. Right now they have several former BlackRock executives inside of the Biden administration that work in there. They're high up in it. They are not like some spokesperson. They are people who are in the background making the fucking plans and pushing shit, across the board. And then, so including Brian Deese, who serves as the director of National Economic Council, and Adewale or Wally Adeyemo.
I love it when you try to pronounce names.
Dude, I don't know how to fucking pronounce these fucking retard names. The Deputy Secretary of the Treasury. If I was born with a name like that, I would have gotten that shit changed the moment I was old enough. I'd be like, I want to be Pete Jones. It's a nice sound.
Easy.
Easy. Big hammer in between the thighs. That would be my new last name. Big Hammer Thighs. Big hammer in the thighs. Between the thighs. Thigh hammer guys.
Is that your Indian name? Like Big Black Eagle?
No, they call me Big Chief Brown Cow. Because I love that motherfucking chocolate milk, dude. That's why. Because they were like, "Oh, what's your favorite cow?" Well, the first time I ever went to a reservation, and they were like, "What's your favorite cow?" I was like, "I love chocolate cows," and they're like, "Chocolate cows don't exist," and I was like, "Bitch, yeah, they do. Where do you think chocolate milk comes from?" Sorry.
Bring it back to town, Ben. Bring it back home, Ben. Bring it back.
Sorry. I'm having fun at this point.
Did you know that the Federal Reserve hired BlackRock as a bond?
Yes.
To buy their bonds and help with their investments for
I briefly
company.
mentioned it way earlier.
Yeah, and there's insider trading, conflict of interest. There's so many bad things that they have been caught doing, but get pushed under the radar because, well, they own all the major media outlets or a large portion of it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know, man. I'm just trying to
another thing,
summarize conclusion.
Well,
if
let
you
me
will.
add another thing about the influence and how they have the executives, former executives, now in high government positions. So one of the other things is that, sorry, I lost my spot. Due to them being tied into it, you know what those former executives, you know what they still have? Did you come across this?
Stakes.
They still own massive shares in BlackRock
Mm-hmm.
and other, like literally a litany of other companies that BlackRock came in and divested and then took, like behind the curtain. Now, this is all shit you guys can look up. A good chunk of this information is public. You can look up a good chunk of this shit, and then it will then segue into other stuff. You have to actually do like legitimate detective work to find this shit.
It's not too hard to find.
Well, it's not, but at the same time, to get finite,
You got to know what you're looking for,
like
but it's not
the
hard
shell
to find.
companies, things like that. You have to kind of know what you're looking for, because you could easily, it would pop up in your face and you would overlook it and not realize that what you're looking at is actually BlackRock.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, what the fuck? Once you do realize it, that's happened to me several times. We've talked about BlackRock, mentioned them in personal conversation and only a couple times on the podcast recently. But BlackRock themselves, like when me and you have talked about it, technically, I have researched BlackRock on and off for a year now.
I've been doing it for about 5 years now, on and off.
I've been deep diving it this past year. I looked in. Technically, the first time I ever looked into BlackRock was towards the end of the pandemic. Oh, and then one thing I want to throw out there.
God, I've got a piece so bad.
I know. One thing I want to throw out there is and this has to do with current things going on. It has to do with Mark Zuckerberg. He full on admitted. He came out and admitted that Facebook was literally supporting the Biden administration during the
You should just read
last
that
election
letter
year.
that he wrote.
They also did admitted to where they suppressed. Yeah, go to the bathroom. Where they suppressed things about the pandemic, a particular virus. They intentionally suppressed it. And of course, now that that's being said and talked about, oh, where the fuck is everybody now? People like me got labeled as a conspiracy theorist, and a litany of other people. And let's even talk about the fact that like you had doctors and actual virologists who came out when this was going on and said, no, what I'm seeing here, I've looked at this thing under a microscope. I've seen this. This looks man-made, blah, blah, blah. It's actually not as dangerous as you think. All these things. And then what happened to them? They got blacklisted. They lost their fucking doctor's licenses. And, the license to practice. They got destroyed. Everything they built in their life got ripped away from them. And their families were affected. And it's wildly fucked up. And the fact that this is being talked about, it's been fully admitted. This is public now. No one gives a fuck. It's like, no. All of you cunts out there who call people like me and these doctors and other people across the board conspiracy theorists, blah, blah, blah. No, it was straight up an agenda. And we called it back then. And now all of a sudden you guys are going to be fucking quiet. No, you guys are just fucking echo chambers. You're probably still sitting there being a bunch of dumb cunts with your heads in the fucking sand as long as the government fucks you in the ass, which is the left, the Democratic Party right now. Yeah, fuck you and your fucking dogs. Fuck you and your family. I don't give a shit. You're breeding probably a bunch of next cunt of generations. Eat a bag of dicks and die, you pieces of shit.
Wait, I didn't think we were supposed to be getting political on this show, Ben.
Sorry, I brought up. Anyways, I'm gonna moving on.
We talking about the letter that Zuckerberg wrote to the
Yep.
government or the people of America or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Damn, it's pretty fucked.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on. Back to the topic at hand. With things.
So, for those of you who are still listening to this and the sound of my voice, I hope that you have gained knowledge, because BlackRock is inherently a very evil corporation with not your best interest in mind. If you begin to hear things like they want to put a cap on grocery limit for groceries, putting a limit on how much they can charge for groceries, that is a BlackRock idea to put fear into you that your money is no longer valuable.
Yeah, and another thing to keep in mind with the whole limit, it's more of a minimum you spend on groceries as well. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know why the camera was on me while you were
Oh, my
talking.
bad. But no, like it's a minimum as well. They're referring to a minimum. So
That's what I
what
mean.
that-
Yeah, a cap.
yeah, I know, but I'm saying a cap for the minimal amount that is allowed to be spent on groceries. So basically, it's their way of saying, if we want to make the minimum $5 for a gallon of milk, that's the new fucking minimum.
I think you're mistaken.
That is something that they're pushing.
I think you're mistaken because
It's in between the lines, man.
it's not in between the lines. The idea that
Yeah.
that has been pushed is a cap on groceries that grocery stores and companies can charge for a thing of milk. They can have it for 50 cents, but they cannot go past
Yeah, it's a
say,
narrative.
$6.
It's a narrative that BlackRock started pushing,
Correct.
but we all know it's bullshit. Dude, did you read the full thing on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
The
I read
fine
the entire
print?
thing.
It's all in between the lines, because now this is no different. This goes just along the lines the same way with the ESG shit, where they get people to adhere to a certain thing, a corporation or a company to adhere. Then they come in and they take it away, and then boom, now you have a minimum. It's their way of producing money because they're going to invest into them, and if the revenue is dropping because they're not getting a certain minimum maintained, then what's the point of the investment? That's how they're thinking, because that's what they're doing. It's about money. It's about making as much money and control that they can have. When it's all said and done, it's no difference with the ESG. Once they scoop in, it's going to be a minimum.
I truly believe you're mistaken on how it was read.
I
Because
was just reading between the lines. It was tying too much into the ESG shit.
because the idea behind the grocery
Right now, you're defending BlackRock.
I'm not defending BlackRock.
You are right
I
now
am
because
not
they're
at
the
all.
ones who made that.
I'm defending the argument that you're mistaken because
Mhm.
the idea that they're trying to push is that grocery stores and companies can no longer go past a certain amount of money on an item. Let's stick to milk. If the
Mhm.
company, let's say Kroger, buys a gallon of milk, 1 gallon of milk for $7,
Mhm.
they cannot charge more than $5 is what the idea is. So
Yeah.
then the company begins to lose money.
Yeah.
There's no minimum that they're
I
trying
know
to
that's what I'm
charge.
trying to say. They're getting them to adhere to the model, so once they start to fail, they can come in and take them, and then they can change what that company's doing.
That's the ESG model. Yes,
That's what I'm saying.
That I agree with.
That's what I'm talking about.
That I agree with.
I'm saying the ultimate outcome will now be a minimum once that happens. That's what I'm getting at.
The
is that-
minimum is the wrong term. It's the maximum that they cap, the maximum that they can charge for something.
No, you're missing what I'm saying. Me and you are having a disconnect right now. Because the ESG, once that goes through and they scoop in and they take that company, they then, just like the rest of the corporations that have been out speaking out about it, they come in with their own model and make them operate a certain way.
Oh, correct.
Which then now what will happen? What policies will get changed that they can change overnight without anyone knowing about? Which would be what they had already instilled in that company. Now they can change it and revert it to whatever they want it to be, which would be what makes them the most profit. Which means
I think it's more sinister
minimum.
than that. I think it's more.
It's a minimum.
I think it's more sinister.
I know
Than that.
I'm hyper focusing on groceries. That's it. It's going to be a thing where it's a minimum rate, so that way they never can drop below a certain revenue, so they always maintain a controlled amount of profit at all times. That's what I'm getting at. I understand the cap thing, but I'm saying that what is not being addressed is that they will now establish a minimum because they don't want the profits
Give
to
me
drop
an example
below a
of the
certain
minimum.
point. Like, for instance, let's say gallons of milk are $4.50 right
Mhm.
now. Right? Let's just say $4.50. Under the deal, like the that ESG model, the whole, you can't charge above X amount. Let's say it's $3.50 is what they can never charge above. They adhere to that model.
Above 350.
Yeah, they can never charge above 350.
Okay.
They adhere to that model. Profits, now, just to break down where this company is getting food from in these different companies, where they get it shipped in from, they still have to pay them that X amount of money,
Mhm.
the overhead. Well, now that the reason why they had jacked up the prices was so they could maintain paying their employees, maintain their current infrastructure, try to maintain their current profit, but they have to raise the price to match how much it's charging, how much they're having to pay to get this product in
That's
the
what
store.
I was going to bring up as well, but I don't know why you're using the term minimum.
You just hear me out. So basically, they have to adhere to that. Once they adhere to that, and they start to lose profit, because they will, because if they can't charge above $350, but they still have to pay the same amount of fucking money to everyone else, for getting that product in the store, they are going to start bleeding money exponentially. And then what happens? They bleed money, and then BlackRock does what they did to every other corporation, every other company. They come in because now they're falling apart. They have no way of having sustainability overall. They already know, and because they always have people who project, okay, in 4 years, the company will be out of business at this rate. They can go off the numbers, or 3 years, whatever it is. BlackRock will then come in because there's nothing they can do about it, because they still have to pay. They can't control anything outside of the company at that point. So they're still paying that high, crazy amounts of money to get that product in. They know that they're failing. And then all of a sudden, BlackRock comes in and goes, hey, your shares, like, the value of your company has dropped, all this stuff. We'll come in and be Captain Save-A-Ho here. We'll invest. We'll buy the majority of your company, blah, blah, blah. They do it. They sign the fine print, and then boom, now the real motive is in place, because now BlackRock will come in after everything's signed and it's done deal. They'll come in with their blueprint and be like, this is what you're going to do, blah, blah, blah. And then they're going to be like, well, we can't charge above that because this is the new thing. It's like, oh, no, the law just changed. And then now they can charge whatever they want. But that's where the minimum comes in. The minimum, because they want to maintain as much money. They want to get back the money, right? Because it's all this, put money here, get all this money back, move it over here. It's all this giant circle jerk that happens. Now, remember the minimum, or sorry, not the minimum, but let's say the cap was at 350 under that ESG bullshit, right? Like the ESG
now you're
model.
using different words. You were using minimum earlier. Now you're
I
using
know, I'm
maximum
about to
cap.
bring up the minimum. I'm
Okay.
talking about the narrative at play. They couldn't charge above 350, which is why they were bleeding, right? Gallon of milk. But now that they changed the law because they can skip around the whole democratic democracy and like all this bullshit, they can skip around it and get anything they want passed because they've been doing it over and over. Now they get to revert that law to get it changed. And now it's, oh, hey, by the way, now we're going to charge $5.50 a gallon for milk. We're going to bring those profits back up, buddy. We're going to charge $5.50, but the new rule and policy within this company, through your accounting, everything, you can never charge less. The minimum that you can charge at all times, the lowest you will ever charge, will be $4.50 a gallon, because they want to maintain a certain profit margin across the board. That's what I'm getting at. They're going to bring in a minimum distillment. It's not going to be in the public eye. It's going to be within the companies. They can never charge less than $4.50. The cap part, yeah, that had to do with the being under that first model. I'm talking about when they come in and they take over and they buy that company behind the curtain and they own the majority of it, and then they give them that stencil of, like the other people whistleblowing about, all of a sudden it's going to be a minimum. That's all I saw when I read the shit. I saw what it will become. I'm talking about what
that's
the
a fair
ultimate
assessment.
end
Yes, that's a
thing
fair
will become.
assessment.
That's all I'm getting at.
Yeah, you were talking 3 steps ahead. I was just trying to lay down the basic groundwork of they're trying to set a maximum cap of what something's going to be cost, and then that company's going to fail. They're going to buy it, and they set new standards.
That's why I was saying
That's
we
how
were
it goes.
getting a disconnect. That's why I was saying we had a disconnect, because I was thinking of the actual aftermath, like what it really is going to result in.
Yeah, I was just trying to set the standard. They're gonna set a max cap of price. That company's going to fail, and then they're going to buy it, and then rechange the price to something different. That's how it's going to go.
Yeah. I was just talking about the minimum. The reason why I wanted to, why I kept saying minimum, was just because of that. It is what's going to happen in the end result, because they never want their investment in their profits to drop it below a certain amount, because that's what BlackRock is getting, that profit. So they want to get that money back in a very high turnover rate. So they're going to be like, hey, you can never charge below this amount for these products.
I bring this up so that people are careful and are attentive to what will be happening here in the future, because I'm pretty positive they're going to be pushing this pretty heavily in the coming future of maximum cap on groceries in grocery stores.
Yeah. And then you guys need to be prepared for what may be coming 4 or 5 years after that, which would be the minimum concept. I had that that we were just talking about.
Mhm.
Sorry, I just want to add that in there.
Yep. So yeah, careful of the maximum because they're going to eventually, before you realize it or know it's happening, they're going to change the prices again, and then be a minimum. So if you are able to vote against it, vote against it. If you're able to fight against it, fight against it. Make sure you're shopping at your local marketplaces, your farmers markets. Make sure you're shopping at your local family-owned stores. Buy the things that are expensive because they need to pay their bills and they need to pay their employees for it to stay open. You like your food, you need to pay it.
Oh, can I add another connection?
Sure.
I meant to add about BlackRock. So the UK war and all that stuff. So it takes a few searches, and you'll find that BlackRock has ties to investments in the UK with the war that's going on over there. Financial funds, they have ties with it through. It's basically through like third-party companies that they own, and heavily own. I'm talking about like actually run, and they're technically the bankrollers behind those companies. And then what did the United States government do that they're also tied into, where the government's just giving billions of dollars to UK, right? And that right there should open up a plethora of fucking doors.
Yeah, much like America's real estate, BlackRock owns a lot of the UK financial investment firms for real estate.
Yep.
They also own a lot of public housing and public economic forums for the governments, the UK government forums.
Yeah.
They have social impact investments. There's a lot of impact they have on first world countries. This all comes back around to what we are always underlying talking about here at Smartly Uneducated, the one world order. They are trying to create one world dichotomy of government through corporate overrule.
I think ultimately BlackRock's a pawn.
A pawn, really?
Yeah, I think
Where's this
BlackRock,
coming from?
because we already know what controls the world, and that's the Federal Reserve.
Money. Well, Federal Reserve uses BlackRock to invest.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. I think BlackRock was created by the Federal Reserve. I think that's the only reason why it exists. I think that because Larry Fink's ties to people in the Federal Reserve go before BlackRock ever existed. That's another thing that popped up in my research. There are ties between people in the Federal Reserve and BlackRock. Not just BlackRock. I mean, Larry Fink in particular. And then other former executive people who are in BlackRock. So I know everyone likes to think that BlackRock is a superpower, but my gut tells me, from what I know about the Federal Reserve and the influence and control it has, which is far more than BlackRock, far more. Like right now, overnight, if Federal Reserve wanted to end BlackRock, they would have many ways of causing them problems, but they don't. They keep supporting them tenfold. My gut, now, this is all just reading between the lines shit. This is just my personal opinion. It's not rooted in 100% fact because it's hard to get those facts. But there's enough circumstantial evidence from researching that I think the Federal Reserve is the reason why BlackRock even exists.
That's fair. They could be another shell company for the Federal Reserve, right?
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Because if Federal Reserve started going around doing what they're doing more publicly within our government and other things, across the board, across the whole world, I think it would be far more noticeable, and people already don't like the Federal Reserve. The common populace doesn't.
No, they do not.
So that just tells me that, yeah. Anyways, the only reason I said it was just because for me, my personal opinion, I think that they are, I think they're the ones who created it, technically, and I think that I think it's a mutual thing.
It's a fair assessment.
That's just because the fact that there's ties with Larry Fink and a few of the people from a few high people in the Federal Reserve before BlackRock became a thing. I mean, If it walks like a duck and quacks like a if walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a fucking duck.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's just my personal opinion.
Is there
but
anything else that we should add into the conclusion here and wrap it up?
Nope. That pretty much covers
Yeah,
everything.
I
I mean, for
agree.
now,
I agree.
obviously there's more to talk about with BlackRock. We
And
would update.
more will come to light. We will update as it comes out.
Yeah, like I want to do a whole other episode, like a BlackRock Part 2,
Mhm.
hyper focusing on a couple other areas, especially their placement inside basically the military industrial complex,
Hell yeah, brother.
and then the ties with DARPA, because those exist. We just didn't get to them because dude, there's so many these cans of worms to open. They're massive, and to do it in one podcast, not even fucking possible. Like, look at what we just talked about. This is more like a highlighted overview.
Yeah.
This is not even we even touch on shit in all reality, any of the grit and detail of a litany of different lanes of subject material just on BlackRock. So, anyways, I digress. That's all I got on BlackRock, sir.
That's all I got as well. Hope you all have enjoyed the show. If you've listened this far, thank you very much. Like it, subscribe, and share, and pass it around to everybody you know, especially Larry Fink, because he is a pee drinking weirdo.
He likes that horse cum. I saw it too, guys. I tell you, he saw that shit. He looked at it. He's like, damn, that looks tasty. Where's my butter? It's first thing in the morning. I need to put my little click-clack-toes in there. Sorry.
Hasta la vista, baby. Is that copyrighted?
It's time to chill out.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Bye.